Hey there, I'm Todd C. Slater, the Simple Investor, and today I have another investor profile with two amazing investors joining me here in the studio. That's right, at the head office of the Simple Company. You know, one of the things that we've been focusing on for the last little while, obviously, is how do we help out our first responder network out there. There are so many people doing so many amazing things for us. And I got to tell you, part of my motivation for doing this was actually my relationship with my current guests. So I'm going to introduce both Mark and Catherine to you, and both of you, welcome to the studio.
Good morning, Todd. Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And
Okay.
Catherine, great to see you. You know, it's been a little while.
Nice to see you as well, Todd.
So, Mark, before I get started, I'm just going to ask you, just a quick introduction because I did throw out the first responder there. And for our listeners' sake, could you tell our listeners, what do you do?
Well, I'm a police officer with Toronto Police Service. It's going on 23 years now. And the first time I've heard about this was when you advertised the Simple Investor program, if that's the case you want to say. And in Mississauga, I went to one of your seminars, and that spiked my interest. And I'm thinking, based on the job that I'm doing, I'm looking for an angle here. And I couldn't find one. So I listened to what you had to say, and we jumped in with both feet.
You know, it's amazing because you haven't aged at all, by the way. And
Thank you so much. I don't think.
Catherine's looking at it saying, "Okay, Todd, come on, don't shovel it." No, but it's true. You haven't aged. And just to clarify, it's been over 10 years actually.
It has, yes.
That both you and Catherine have been investors with us. Catherine, I know that Mark's going to tell me that you do the numbers. So let's kind of like step back before we start talking about your experience with the Simple Investor. But why did you want to get involved in investment real estate? Well, like, what was the draw?
Basically, it was I had some health issues, and we ended up using a lot of our savings using alternative medicine. And whatever we had left, I wanted to find something that will actually help us for our future. I knew it wasn't anything going to be quick, rich schemes or anything like that, but just for our future. And we came across your ad in the newspaper. You were at the Metro Convention Center. And I said to Mark, we should go check it out and see what he had to say. And I said, I know Todd from in the area, being a real estate agent locally. So we decided to go, and here we are.
Here we are. I know, 10 years later. Mark, as I said, one of the amazing things is that when we start talking about first responders and you having been a police officer for so many years, life happens.
Yes.
Both you and Catherine know this very, very much, and I've talked that from day one. I believe life happens. How do we secure ourselves, for the future? And this happens in any profession, but especially in your profession. And so maybe you can kind of take us through your thought pattern because right now you've got multiple properties.
That's correct. Well, this is the way I was thinking. I am first generation immigrant, so I don't really have any family support here. Came here by myself without any friends and family. And luckily, I got to this job, and I'm thinking, I don't know how long I can be doing this, and will I be able to get the full pension? What can I do to secure a future for my family? And I have a 16-year-old, and obviously we have to put him to university. What will happen if something happens to me? I would have regrets if not looking for some good opportunity to secure his future as well. And real estate came to mind. I have been reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but Robert
Great book.
Kiyosaki.
Yep.
And that opened my eyes because growing up in Poland in socialism, it was get a good education, get a good job, save, and that was that. Okay, and government will take half of your money.
They still do.
They still do. So I was looking for some avenue. I didn't know much about stocks. I didn't know much about bonds, and I'm thinking that's a very, very volatile market. So something secure would be nice. And both Catherine and myself, we thought of real estate after reading Kiyosaki's books. So we went to different seminars and we found yours, and we found that this model appeals to us the most. Hands off, obviously, because I was working shift work, so I couldn't be there. I didn't want to get up in the middle of the night to go and fix someone's light bulb or toilet. So when you presented the model, I was like I said, being a police officer, I always look for an angle. I couldn't find any. And then I said, well, if this is straight up and that's the way it is, then we're jumping in.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. And I'm happy I did. And a few properties later, we're still thinking of buying more.
Yeah, 10 years later. And, Catherine, I remember, because, you both of you definitely, made a huge impression on me in the early days. And one of the things that a lot of people always said was, what's the catch? It sounds too good to be true. Did you have that kind of feeling?
Not really, because I've seen you around the neighborhood. I've seen your scratch pads, Todd. I knew you were a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any bad feelings, or I was more like, you know what? It sounds like it's good, and it's hands off. This is what we're looking for. I don't want to deal with tenants. So why not? I said the down payment at that time was very little.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, now you can't find anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I convinced Mark. I said, no, everything's on the up and up. There's a lawyer present. We got the deeds in our name, everything. So I don't see how the bank, you're dealing with a bank. So how could it be a scam?
Yeah.
Right? And you were accessible. That was the main thing. If we wanted to talk to you, you were there. So that was the big thing too, because sometimes you can't find, they're never in the office. But for us, you were very accessible.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That was one of the things I think from the get-go, and we still believe in it. Mark, you and I were talking earlier. You've known me for over 10 years. I don't think our message has ever changed. And if anything, I think it's actually getting stronger. The fact that, you mentioned, you bring up your son, 16 years of age. As you know, I've got a young daughter as well. And we take a look at the next generation. And one of the things that I think is us being responsible is creating something, generational wealth. I think that giving the next generation is something we're going to have to do because, again, the world's changing. It's changing very fast. And if we know one thing that everybody should know, obviously, is that everybody needs a roof over their head. And if we can provide the next generation with those assets to be able to, secure that for their future, I think is really important. And I think that was one of your driving forces.
Absolutely. Yes, you're very right. World is changing. We don't know what the future holds. Some stability is needed. And like I said, I trusted my wife's instincts. She has a very good gut feeling about everything. And if she says, let's go ahead, I was like, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. So, and I'm happy I did. Here we are.
So, I am gonna, ask your opinion, or maybe you can give out some advice to some of the, some of our, audience, some of the first responders out there. I do have, and I'm hoping you're going to attend on February the 2nd. That's a Thursday at 7 p.m. Our first responders, webinar seminar. My method to my madness here was to help the people that have been helping us all these years. That's near and dear to me. My mom actually was an ER nurse at St. Joe's. So again, these people, they put, tireless, hours into work, everything that they do to help all of us. And so what would you tell some of your people you work with?
I would say, give it a try. You know that we never know when our life will end because of the job we're in. And to secure your future and your future for your family, this is a great opportunity to try it. And being in it already and looking at different angles, I couldn't find anything that was contradicting my move. So I would say, give it a try. Why not? And if you don't like it, you can always sell.
And that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. The one thing that we have always mandated is that when you own a unit, as you mentioned, Catherine, earlier, title to you, you have the deed, and you have the ability to sell your unit, and that's the thing. We don't control it. I don't own a share of your unit, never will. I wanted when I set this up, I wanted you to be the one that benefits from it. So when you look back on it now, and as I mentioned, Mark had mentioned that you're the numbers person. I think it's kind of staggering, and the numbers have overshot whatever we had projected, obviously, but that's because of the real estate market. And even with today, we still look at real estate in a whole. Are you happy with your numbers?
Very happy. I'm ecstatic. I think it worked out really well for us. I mean, there was, like we said, life happens. There's a few that we missed, but now we're catching up. And it's all about being in the market. It's not it's basically how long you're in the market for. And if you're patient, you'll see the fruits of your success, I guess, is what you could.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like the idea that you encourage patience because, Mark, one of the things, as you know, nothing should ever be a quick buck. Okay.
It is something is wrong.
Well, and you can't time it. There's no market you can time. And, for yourself, you are a healthy professional, but you've got to put time into that. And the same with your investment, your portfolio. You have to put time into it. And it doesn't necessarily mean you personally, but you've got to allow it time.
That's correct. And because we're busy with our jobs, be it shift work or whatever it is, and with our families, we don't always have time to look after this. This takes care of itself. And that was my attraction to it. Hands off. This is what it is. This is how much you're going to pay every month. This is how much you're going to get every month. The property pays it for itself, basically. So,
yeah. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Catherine?
I know a lot of people are hesitant or they're scared, especially with the climate today, with the real estate and just what's basically happening. Everybody's going in one direction and but I think if what I've been through with my health and so forth, there's always a big storm, and then it just calms down. So I think if you look at it that way, then you're more inclined to actually participate in the real estate market. Because right now people are hesitant and they're scared, they don't know what to do, interest rates. But I think if you, like I said, have more very positive attitude, I think it will work out really well. And if they do go to the seminar, I think they'll find that the business model will work for them as well.
Yeah. And Mark?
same here. Like business model really works. Like I said, because of the nature of my job, I'm cautious, let's put it that way, and examining everything, very carefully. But I couldn't find anything that would raise red flags. So I said, yes, we will go ahead, and I have not been disappointed. So thank you very much.
Well, no, I want to thank the two of you for joining me and sharing your stories, actually. And, it's very important. And, the one thing I can promise you, I plan on at least another decade of us together, and we'll continue to grow, if not 2 decades or 3, as long as we possibly can. But I do want to thank you for joining me here in the podcast studio today. It's been wonderful having you. Folks, this is just, another great example of people that actually realize, creating security is going to be very, very important for your future. And investment real estate, doesn't matter if it's with us or, you go at it alone, but investment real estate, I truly believe, is the future for just, us, people that just want to make sure that the next generation are going to be secure. And so that's a wrap for this investor profile. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Todd C. Slater, the Simple Investor.